Solving equations. When we're asked to solve an equation, our goal is to end up with the letter on one side and a number on the other. One way to accomplish this task is to use what I call the sort, sum, and split method. This differs somewhat from the traditional method, but it is another approach that some students find easier. When we have an equation to solve, we must first get rid of any parentheses by using distribution. When we distribute, we take whatever's in front of the parentheses and multiply it by whatever's inside the parentheses. So I'm going to take 2 times x, that will give me 2x. 2 times 8 will give me 16. On the right I have negative 3 times x gives me negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2 gives me negative 6. Now that we have the parentheses out of the way, we're ready for the step that I call sorting. Remember that our goal is to get the letter on one side and the number on the other. So let's sort things out a bit. Let's put a circle around every term that does not contain x. Let's put a box around every term that does contain an x. Circle here, box here, and so on and so forth. Okay? Be sure to keep the signs inside the box or inside the circle. Remember that if a number does not have a sign in front of it, it's automatically positive. Now that we have all of our terms inside boxes and circles, we're ready to sort things out. We want to get all of our boxes on one side of the equation and all of our circles on the other side. It doesn't really matter which is which, but for this example I'm going to get all the boxes on the same side on the left side of the equation. Well, I already have 2 boxes on the left, so they're fine where they are. I'm just going to leave them there. I have a box over here on the right that needs to be moved over to the left. Now when we move a term from one side of the equation to the other, we have to go across the equal sign. We can think of that equal sign as being like a bridge. When a term moves across the bridge, it has to change signs. This is very important. So negative 3x moves across the bridge and becomes a positive 3x. Now let's look at the circles. I have a 4 and a negative 6 in the circles. They are fine where they are. We'll leave them there. But on the left I have 2 circles that need to move across. So I have a positive 4. It has to cross the bridge and become negative 4. Positive 16 across the bridge becomes negative 16. Now we have everything sorted. Let's check. We have all boxes on the left, all circles on the right. Now we're ready for the step that I call sum. We have to sum our terms. In other words, I only want to have 1 box on the left, 1 circle on the right. So to do that I have to sum the terms. 2 and negative 7 is negative 5. Negative 5 and positive 3 is negative 2. Keep the x on the negative 2. These are x terms. On the right, positive 4 and negative 6 is negative 2. Negative 2 and negative 4 is negative 6. Negative 6 and negative 16 is negative 22. Okay, so now that everything is summed and merged, now we're ready for our final step. Remember, our goal was to get the x all by itself. Well, right now it has a negative 2 attached to it. When we have a number in front of a letter, we are actually multiplying that number times that letter. How do we undo multiplication? Well, division is what undoes multiplication. So to split that -2 off of the x, I'm going to divide both sides by -2. -2 divided by -2 is 1x. -22 divided by -2 is 11. So x equals 11 is our final answer. Notice the x is all by itself. That tells me that I am finished. Now let's go to part 2 of your handout. This equation that we are asked to solve is a little bit different. It has a fraction in it. But our first step is the same. We have to sort our terms. So we'll put circles around terms that have no x, a box around terms that have x. Next, we want to get our boxes on the left and our circles on the right. Well, I only have one box and it's already on the left, so I'll just leave it where it is. I have a circle on the right, it can stay on the right. This circle needs to move across, change signs, and become -4. Okay? Next step is to sum the terms. Well, there's only one box, so we can just leave it where it is. We have two circles we need to merge into one circle. 7 and -4 is 3. Okay, we're almost there. We're trying to get x all by itself, but right now it has a 3 underneath. How are we going to split that 3 out from under the x? When we have x over 3, that's the same thing as saying x divided by 3. Well, how do we undo division? We have to multiply. So we have to multiply by whatever number is underneath the x, which is 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. When I do that, the 3 cancels with the 3 underneath, and that leaves x all by itself. If I multiply the left-hand side by 3, I have to multiply by 3 on the right. 3 times 3 is 9. And so x equals 9. X is all by itself, so we are now finished. The two key things to remember here are that in the final step, when we need to split the number away from the letter, if the letter is over the number, we're going to multiply. And in our first example, we have a number next to a letter. To split that off, we have to divide.